Breaking tonight, more names are joining a quickly growing list of Democratic mayors from some of America's biggest towns, all digging in their heels and vowing to fight President-elect Donald Trump on his pledge to crack down on so-called sanctuary cities. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. The issue of immigration took center stage almost immediately after the election, with the president-elect renewing his promise to deport those illegal immigrants convicted of serious crimes, to clean up American streets, and to remind people on his website, quote, "On the first day of my term of office, my administration will cancel all federal funding to sanctuary cities." Tonight, the number of those cities vowing to defy President-elect Trump has now grown to more than a dozen, including our nation's capital. Our next guest counts himself among the resistance and says his opposition to Mr. Trump has to do with much more than just his stance on immigration. With us tonight, Javier Gonzalez, Democratic mayor of Santa Fe, California, along with former Trump campaign spokesperson Katrina Pearson. But we begin with the mayor. Mr. Mayor, great of you to be here. Thank you very much.
Good to be here, and it's Santa Fe, New Mexico, but that's all right.
Sorry.
We understand it.
It's been that kind of a day.
Right.
So explain to us, if Donald Trump decides to defund the city, which you get about 2% of your federal funds from the federal government, how are you going to defy that? I mean, you need that money, right?
Well, first, it's a long way before that actually happens. And I think the important conversation that needs to happen in America today is how do we go forward, and how do we create some type of unified effort to address a broken immigration system at the federal level. It's wrong to penalize cities that have been welcoming and creating opportunities for all citizens, regardless of where they come from.
Yeah, but you know the beef. But it's also creating opportunities, they say, for illegal immigrants who should not be here and in many cases, in far too many cases, commit violent crimes.
Well, first, let's talk about that, because even in Santa Fe, we prioritize going after people that are in our community to commit violent crimes, regardless of their status. The number one priority of law enforcement in every local community is to keep their community safe. You go after the people who want to do harm, whether they're documented or not documented, we're going to go after them.
But the argument is that it's a magnet for would-be, criminals, because they think they have a better shot in a city like Santa Fe than they do in a city that's going to crack down on the presence of undocumented immigrants.
It's an argument in false realities. Study after study have shown that sanctuary cities do not lead to an increase in crime because of the presence of people that are undocumented. This is a broken federal system. People who are living in our communities peacefully, lawfully, want to do so to achieve the American dream. If we fix the federal immigration system, cities won't be having to take on this position to protect our communities. So,
well, that's true, but as you know, these guys can't get any immigration reform done. I mean, that is a pipe dream. It just hasn't happened. It's certainly not going to happen now.
Look, we have a president.
That Donald Trump is saying on his very first day he's going to cancel the federal funding sanctuary cities. But listen, here, what people think about when they think about sanctuary cities, they think about cases like the Bolognas out in San Francisco. That is in California, and what happened to her poor family, where her husband and her sons were murdered by somebody who should have been deported but was left there thanks to a sanctuary city policy. They think about Kate Steinle and how she was murdered by somebody that the ICE detainer request was not cooperated with, and a young woman was killed. And you can understand why Americans say, we're done. We understand. We were empathetic to the plight of illegal immigrants who come here in a well-meaning way at first, but now we're done because too many people have been hurt.
The violent crimes are horrific, and no one should justify those actions. But the truth is, look at communities like Santa Fe, where we've had these policies in place since 1999. We weathered the recession with some of the lowest unemployment. We're marked as a city as creating jobs because of entrepreneurship. Time after time, we've seen success because we've been a welcoming, diversified city that doesn't focus on trying to do the federal government's job.
How do you enforce the sanctuary nature of the city? In other words, do you not ask about immigration status on arrests, or how do you enforce that?
Here's what we don't do. We don't ask people what their immigration status is. We focus on trying to protect our community.
Okay, but let me ask you that. So let's walk through that.
Sure.
So then if a police officer pulls over someone who's in the country illegally, and let's say he's got somebody who is an illegal immigrant, who has committed other crimes, and he doesn't ask, then he's lost a tool that he could use against this prior convict of deportation.
Again, that's not the process that happens. If a police officer pulls someone over for a minor traffic offense, they'll do what they do with everyone else. They'll run a crime background check on him. If that person is tagged, then 100% they'll contact ICE and they'll begin the process of
but if they're
prosecuting the
tagged,
individual.
if they're not tagged because he's only ever been arrested in Santa Fe and you guys never ask about immigration status, then you perhaps lose a tool to go after him. What if he loses? What if he wins the case against him, the criminal case, but you could still get rid of him? Let's say this guy, he's got 5 arrests for felonies, but he's got a great lawyer. He keeps getting off. Yeah. But you never identify him as an illegal immigrant, so he keeps skipping on and staying in Santa Fe.
Well, once again, we have to look at the realities of what's happened. Since we have been a safe city, a welcoming city, nothing has shown that we've had a rise in crime rates or violent crime as a result of it since 1999. If anything, the contrary.
No rise at all.
No rise. People are coming out of the shadows. They're participating in our community. They're sharing information with law enforcement because these families want to make sure that they're living in a safe environment. Okay. So we can't go to the most negative side of things that are kind of conjured up during a campaign. Look, it's time to govern. We're not in the political campaign anymore. We have a Republican incoming president, a Republican Congress. They've talked over and over about fixing our immigration system. They need to do that first so that we can begin to move forward as a country.
Well, that would address a lot of this.
What's going on in the cities.
They haven't shown any ability. Wait, so I want to bring in Katrina Pearson, who's the former Trump campaign national spokesperson, along with Eric Guster, an attorney and political commentator. Mr. Mayor, if you wouldn't mind standing by for this debate, because I want to get your thoughts on it. But Katrina, his point is that since they became a sanctuary city, they haven't seen any uptick in violent crime. And so for them, this is not a problem.
Well, it's still against the law. I mean, Center for Immigration Studies showed that in 2014, over an 8-month period, 8,000 criminally convicted illegal immigrants were released into the population. And this is the one area that federal government does have jurisdiction. It is the responsibility to protect the citizens of this country, and no one should be violating federal law. If that had been anybody else, they'd be in a lot of trouble.
Eric?
This is the new civil rights struggle, and these people need to be protected from Trump and possibly his irrational types of leadership, because these people are living their lives, they're participating in the process, and are being great citizens, well, great members of our community, and we need to fix the immigration problem because that will give them.
Some aren't. That's the problem.
Yes, but many are, and that's what we need to do.
We can cherry pick.
Hold on. Let Eric finish, and then I'll give it to you, Cap.
We need to concentrate on those people who are doing great things. Now, if they're committing violent crimes, they're deported. But what Katrina is quoting on those statistics, you're talking about traffic tickets, speeding violations, those types of things that are not truly bad crimes. So Katrina, that's what those statistics are reading.
What people like Mr. Mayor say, hold on, I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to give you the floor. But what people like the mayor here would say is, when you have a sanctuary city, it encourages reporting of crimes among people who are undocumented, who otherwise wouldn't report because they're afraid they're going to get, deported.
Except that it doesn't. I mean, the whole point here is the entire rule of law is being ignored. We have laws in this country, and just because you haven't done anything yet doesn't mean you get to just take a pass on that. An American citizen, there is no catch and release system for American citizens. And to your point, this is a problem because criminals have been released back into this country, as reported on Fox News. That has been shown that this administration has released thousands of even violent criminals back into our population. So this is a problem. What about Jamil Shaw, his child, Kate Steinle, Josh Wilkerson? The list goes on.
Okay, stand by. Mr. Mayor, speak to that, the fact that this is illegal, that this is just, it's not. They've broken the law, and so how can you violate the law and just say we're going to flout it and you can stay here?
This is a broken federal immigration system that if the Congress had the courage to fix, this wouldn't even be an issue.
So you're just accepting reality is your point?
The truth is I'm accepting a pragmatic approach, is that we want people in our community to live lawfully, to be full productive citizens of our community. And the evidence and all the data shows that there hasn't been a spike in crime rates, that people have come out of the shadows.
Well, you speak of Santa Fe. We don't know whether that's true in these other sanctuary cities. Eric, let me bring you back in because, the will among this particular Congress, controlled now by the Republicans, and this particular president-elect, Republican, is not going to be on the side of cities like Santa Fe. And so you tell me whether you think they're really prepared to deprive these cities of their federal funding.
They're not prepared to do that. That would be a disaster for people who supported them as well as others. Now, what these cities have to do is make sure that they stand together against this type of abuse, because this is a civil rights violation. When you're talking about people being deported who have not broken the law, who are great members of our community and really contributing to the American
Okay.
dream.
Go ahead, Kat.
It's a shame that they want to do that.
I'll give you the final word, Kat.
Well, look, I think they absolutely have the will to do that, considering how liberalism suffered an astonishing defeat last Tuesday. The people are tired of this. They are tired of people coming to this country, draining resources and everything else that comes along with it. And we have to fight for those kids, like Jasmine Gonzalez, a 10-year-old right here in Texas, who was raped, stabbed in the chest, and thrown in a ditch to die by someone who was in this country illegally. We have to protect our own citizens. If we can't do that, then we are here for nothing.
All right. Thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Also tonight, a new free speech showdown on a major college campus. See what happened when campus police showed up in force to block Ben Shapiro from speaking at DePaul University. Plus, the Clinton campaign first blamed James Comey and then the Electoral College for Hillary Clinton's loss at the polls. But their newest excuse beats those by a mile. Mark Thiessen and Matt Bennett are next on that. And then it turns out the Trump campaign had a secret weapon in helping them find and turn out the voters that made the difference for him. And up next, you will meet him in a Kelly File exclusive, the man who helped engineer one of the biggest political upsets in history. Don't miss this. Breaking tonight, exactly 1 week since President-elect Donald Trump's historic upset election victory, and some top Democrats offering a new explanation for what went wrong. It was the fault of the voters. Well, I mean, I guess, right? Like, by not choosing Hillary. One former Clinton campaign staffer saying white women did not vote for Hillary Clinton because they're misogynists.
Internalized misogyny is a real thing. We as a society react poorly to women seeking positions of power.
Mark Thiessen is a Fox News contributor and American Enterprise Institute scholar. And Matt Bennett is co-founder of Third Way and a former deputy assistant to President Clinton. Great to see you both. So
good to see you, Megan.
It's because of women's internalized misogyny that Hillary Clinton, I mean, that's you could go that way with it, Matt. What do you think? You're a Democrat.
Yeah, you could. Look, I've been around some close losses in my time. I was there when Al Gore lost, and people were blaming that on him wearing too much makeup in his debate and sighing too much. And
well, that was annoying.
Yeah, it was. But look, Megan, people search for answers when they lose close elections, particularly ones that they expected to win as of like 9 o'clock on election night. And so I think there's a lot of folks in the Clinton campaign that are casting around for answers. That's not one I would have come up with, but you're going to see a lot of those kinds of explanations.
Look, I mean, Mark, there's no question that there was some sexism involved in this race, and that was to be expected given that we had the first female nominee from a major party. But to attribute her loss to white women being sexist pigs is a little confusing when, you know, you had a candidate who, even as President Obama said, didn't work as hard as he did, didn't go to all the counties, didn't drive out all the voters in places where margin really mattered.
Absolutely. Look, I think the Democrats have a big problem, which is that there are 0 electoral votes in the state of denial, which is where they are right now. Hillary Clinton did not lose because among women, white women, because of internalized misogyny. She lost because most American women think she should be in prison. After James Comey came out with his decision, no, hold on, this is a fact. After James Comey came out with his decision saying that she shouldn't be prosecuted, Washington Post did a poll. 56% of American women thought she should have been prosecuted. Fox News poll on the eve of the election, 61% of American women thought she was dishonest. Apparently, the lesson of this election is women don't vote for other women who they think are dishonest and belong in prison.
Well, they didn't think Trump was honest either, but they voted for him. So what was it about Hillary?
In prison.
What was it? Was it the prison threat, the criminal threat against her that caused them not to vote? Matt, I read an interesting article the other day that suggested she was losing the voters before Director Comey came out. They were starting to go Trump. He was getting the third-party voters at the last minute who were like, never mind, I'm not going to vote for, this guy who doesn't know anything about Syria. I'm going to go with somebody else. Who else? Oh, Trump. And it wasn't, you couldn't attribute it necessarily to her alleged criminality. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I just, look, the data from this election, I think, has been proven to be a little suspect. We'll have to dig through it to see which was right. I do think that, for the most part, these women were breaking at the last minute or were breaking sooner than that based on economic concerns. This was a howl of anger and anxiety, and they decided they wanted somebody new and not.
And
Hillary
all
Clinton
she
wasn't
talked about
somebody
was
new.
how bad he was. She didn't push her own message of why she could and would help
That's
them.
really important.
All right, guys,
That's
good to see
really-
you. I got to run because
All
I
right,
have
thanks,
somebody
Megan.
very interesting.
Thanks, Megan.
I mean, you're interesting too, but I want to bring you to this guy. An insider's take now on how Mr. Trump actually won. The man behind the digital operation, now credited with helping find and turn out the voters who made the difference. Here now in a Kelly File exclusive, Brad Parscale, the former digital director of the Trump campaign and president of Giles Parscale. Did I say that right?
Yes, perfectly.
Great to see you, Brad. This is fascinating, fascinating.
Thank you.
You are the one person who actually knows the answer to this question.
Yeah, the data.
How did Trump win?
Well, I think first you have to say it started with leadership, though, and that was with Jared Kushner, and also Trump's genius coming down to allow us to put a data operation in place. That
Jared Kushner is married to Ivanka
Jared
Trump.
Kushner, that's Ivanka Trump husband. Jared was instrumental in being kind of an overlay of kind of bringing Trump's genius down to all the different parts of leadership. You know, and Steve Bannon was there as kind of that strategy person. But the data operation right from the middle, and I think for the first time in history, the data operation ran everything from TV buying to where we were on the ground to all the different operations. And so in having that data right there, we could start to see where persuadable targets are, GeoTV, everything we needed to know to win the 270.
How? I mean, like when you first saw, we're in play in Michigan.
Yeah.
What showed you that?
Well, so I think there's a good example from both Pennsylvania and Michigan. We played in some other spots also as I started to see data and started to track it. We were making thousands of live calls, web tracking, different surveys, and pulling data that was driving in and building what's called models and universes. And what we can start to see is we're in play in Pennsylvania, we're playing in Michigan, let's buy in these areas, let's buy in these DMAs, let's buy these voter targets. We started to see that move our direction. And by the Friday before the election, I had predicted that we were going to win 305 electoral votes.
Come on.
Yep. The ABEV results coming in, which is absentee ballots and early voting, was showing the data that where we were hitting targets and where we wanted to see the voters turn out were showing up for us.
Was the reaction by others like, say what?
Yeah, I think that there was a thing to stay around Brad's office. He seems really happy and giddy.
You feel good when you leave Brad's office for some reason.
Yes. So the idea is the data doesn't lie. And that's the beauty about data. And I had some great data scientists. We had teams of them putting that data in a way that could be consumed so we could understand where we need to target people.
But here's the interesting thing about Brad. He's not some political operative. You're from country Kansas, as you put it.
Born outside Topeka, Kansas.
So what gave you the skills to, get a man elected president?
Well, I think some of that's just a blessing in that, I came out of college in the late 90s. That was a great time to exit school and get a job in the dot-com world and get educated. I had a finance and business degree, but at that point, there was no one with degrees in internet marketing. And I was blessed to spend that. And I've spent 15 years building a company that I started with just $500.
And Jared and Ivanka first hired you, right, back in 2010 to help with the Trump organization.
Ivanka and Eric Trump hired me for the real estate website.
Okay.
And once I got the real estate website, then I started to work my way through the Trump.
So how closely connected with the family have you been?
I think at this point, I have a very good relationship with them. I mean, they value hard work. They value loyalty. They value success.
Results, right.
And results. And that's what I wanted to bring.
So where were you on election night?
I was in Trump Tower, then eventually up in the apartment.
In front of your computer?
I was in front of my computer.
What did you know then before others? Like, we got this.
Friday, I was 95% sure, and by Sunday, I was about even more. And my Tuesday morning, I got more nervous Tuesday morning because I knew so much, I just had to wait.
Did you know about Wisconsin?
My one flip mistake was Wisconsin and Colorado. That's my 305 to 306. However, as you can see, our media buys from Michigan to where we bought them in Pennsylvania and the different ways we're doing, we had a very good strategy with the data.
Well, why do you think, do you know why she lost and he won? I mean, other than strategy, do you know what it was that turned it or?
Well, I think that, and that's a good see Bannon for a strategy question as well, but I think change. I mean,
but was there an event like the Comey announcement or
what's funny about
changed the numbers?
What's funny about that announcement was in the polling numbers. I was actually flying with Mr. Trump this night. I showed him polling numbers before that announcement to show him we were already coming. Those undecideds were moving our way. People in this country were ready for change. They were ready for something new.
they were already moving that way. And I think those events continue to have an ebb
What
and flow.
about after the Access Hollywood tape? Did they move the other way? Was that a crisis?
I think here's the thing is I think all campaigns have ebb and flows along the way,
Yeah.
right? Ups and downs. I mean, but the progress that reassess your data, remove and build new universes that now we have new targets. So you move your in the bag, you move the people in and out.
This is incredible. So now what are they going to do with you, right? Because is it true that you worked for Ted Cruz for a little while?
No, I did not work for Ted
Okay.
Cruz.
So now what?
This was my first ever campaign.
What does President-elect Trump do with you?
Well, I think that's a President-elect Trump question.
Do you want to work for the administration?
No, I never was a politico. You know, that wasn't my goal. My goal is to be a megaphone for people, for businesses, for candidates, for who that is.
Oh, I mean, but you're a Republican. You want to work for the
I'm a Republican.
They're writing your name down in every Republican county in America right now.
And I think that science that was missed in the previous campaigns was to take the digital and mix TV, ground game, door knocking, all those pieces, even budget. So Jared and I oversaw where the budget choices were based off of data.
You shouldn't give all of this away. You should hold some of this inside so you can make more money doing it for others.
Well, let's just say, just saying it isn't as easy as doing it.
Right.
So sometimes you
Makes
have
sense.
to say it so people will know that you can do it.
Fascinating. Brad, thank you so much for being
Congratulations
here.
on your book.
Thank you very much.
I had to throw that in.
And congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Amazingly done.
Thanks.
1 week ago, Donald Trump won the presidency of the United States, prompting emotional reaction nationwide. In anticipation of possible tension on campus, University of Virginia President Teresa Sullivan sent a message to faculty and students urging unity. Now she faces backlash for daring to mention Thomas Jefferson in her email, who, by the way, founded the school. Trace Gallagher has that story from our West Coast newsroom. Trace?
Megan, in her post-election email, the president of the University of Virginia argued that students have the responsibility of creating the future they want for themselves. And in the wake of the contentious election, President Sullivan says she was trying to unite students by citing UVA founder Thomas Jefferson, who wrote, quoting, "University of Virginia students are exactly the persons who are to succeed to the government of our country and to rule its future enmities, its friendships and fortunes." But that quote drew a sharp response from professors and students, 469 of whom signed a letter to the president asking her to refrain from quoting Jefferson in light of the fact that he was a slave owner. The letter read in part, quoting, "Although some members of this community may have come to this university because of Thomas Jefferson's legacy, others of us came here in spite of it. For many of us, the inclusion of Jefferson quotes undermines the messages of unity, equality, civility, and inclusivity that you are attempting to convey." The professor who wrote the letter said it was meant to start a conversation of ways to be more inclusive. Well, it certainly started a conversation. After comments from around the country came in, as well as a quick response from President Sullivan herself, who said that quoting Jefferson didn't mean she agreed with all of his actions. And then the president, who was asked not to quote Jefferson, went on to use his most famous quote, which all men are created equal, writing, "Those words were inherently contradictory in an era of slavery, but because of their power, they became the fundamental expression of a more genuine equality today." And history buffs will also note that Thomas Jefferson was often quoted by Martin Luther King Jr. Megan.
You cannot make this stuff up. Trace, thank you. Also tonight, a tense scene unfolded on another campus just hours ago when conservative commentator Ben Shapiro was prevented from stepping foot onto the campus of DePaul University in Chicago. Shapiro was invited by DePaul's Young Americans for Freedom chapter, attempting to defy a ban instituted against him in August. Joining me now in a Kelly File exclusive, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire. Here we go again, Ben. Here we go again. It's incredible how, I mean, time after time, these college campuses won't even let you speak because you get shouted down by intolerant people when you try to go, and then they say it's a security concern.
Yeah, it really is amazing. This one was actually particularly amazing because there wasn't a protester anywhere in sight. So you had 30 security people
but they could
and a sheriff from
picture
Cook
one
County.
in their heads.
Right, exactly. So they'd actually internalized the rioters so well that now they could actually reflect them back out to the world. They're tolerant of anything except somebody actually giving a speech on the topic of free speech. That is the actual topic of the speech that I was
say that again? Say that again.
The speech that I was giving was about free speech, and they are tolerant enough to ban it. So that was exciting.
It's unbelievable. You were not allowed to speak about free speech at all. This is what modern-day university campuses have come to. Not in all cases. There's the University of Chicago that denied people their safe spaces. But in this case, so you showed up there to make a point about free speech, and you were arrested. Now, does this have any public dollars coming its way, this university?
I don't know. It's a private university, which is why I didn't actually just attempt to walk right past security. If it's a public university, then I would have done so under my First Amendment rights. It's a private university. So once they'd made clear that I would be arrested if I took 2 steps forward, then what I did instead is Christina Hoff Sommers, who joined me at this lecture, she actually Skyped me into the lecture hall, and then we told everybody in the lecture hall to get up and walk out, and we all walked over to a theater that was about 3 blocks away and did the event anyway.
What do the kids who, if there are kids who are protesting, young adults, your presence, say? Do you know?
Well, I mean, I think that they're just offended by anybody who has a differing point of view. I mean, I'm speaking tomorrow at University of Wisconsin at Madison, and one of the key reasons that they're protesting me, apparently the big protests are planned, is because I'm pro-Trump, which is weird since I wasn't. So they're just making things up. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. And then they will let controversial figures from the left come and speak. It's just not somebody who's got strong views from the right. We've seen it so many times. Ben, good for you for trying. Thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot.
Remember that old First Amendment chestnut? The answer to speech you do not like is not less speech, it's more speech. It's like an important principle. Still ahead, acts of violence caught on camera following the presidential election. The Kelly File takes a closer look at what's going on. Plus, Hillary Clinton reportedly still under investigation by Congress. Still. So where do we stand now on a possible prosecution? Is that happening? Governor Mike Huckabee and Richard Socarides are next.
It wasn't political targeting at the beginning, so because there's been a political election, why should I just drop it?
And just getting breaking news in now over the wires. It came out earlier today that Senator Ted Cruz went to Trump Tower and had a meeting there with President-elect Trump, excuse me, in New York. And now the national political reporter Jennifer Jacobs for Bloomberg is reporting scoop, that's how she's put it. Trump is discussing Ted Cruz for AG, for Attorney General. Ooh, that's interesting. Not confirmed yet by Fox, but a possibility. So why don't we ask somebody who might be in a position to know? Fox News contributor, who's a man who supported Mr. Trump through thick and thin for 6 months at least, Governor Mike Huckabee. And you used to run for president with both of these guys. It was something you all did together, even though you were against one another. And you tell me whether you think there's any chance Donald Trump is considering Ted Cruz for AG.
It would be a big shock to me. I know we all ran together, but there was never like a big group hug that involved Ted Cruz, so I would be very, very surprised if that were the case. But look, this election has been full of surprises, so it's Donald Trump's decision to make, and I'm sure he'll make it when he wants to.
Do you think Ted Cruz would be a good choice for AG?
You know, he certainly served in an attorney general's office in Texas as the solicitor general, so he's got that experience. He's a brilliant constitutional lawyer. He has many of the gifts, and quite frankly, I think that there are certain members of the Republican Senate, you know, that would be happy to confirm him because he wouldn't be in the Senate, and they haven't been that happy with him being there.
That's a backhanded compliment, I guess, but anything is possible.
No, I'm just saying they'll give him a unanimous consent, even the Democrats will vote for him.
He's not the most popular senator, that's clear, among his colleagues. All right, we'll continue to watch that, but let's talk about Hillary, because you know, now we had President-elect Trump promising that he was going to put her in jail. You've got several congressional investigations going on, or at least one looking into her and others who are interested in doing so. What happens to that now?
Well, I think for Hillary's sake, there needs to be an investigation, because if she's as innocent as she says, she needs to be exonerated. The only way that happens is with a full investigation. But there has been so many things about what she did. I mean, even this recent revelation about her maid had access to the server, typed out things on her computer. Look, I mean, the smell of this is so bad, it takes a hazmat team to just walk into the evidence. But if she's innocent, let's prove it. If, however, that she has done some things that violated national security, she lied to Congress.
But, you know, Comey already said no. He already said no. Didn't we already go through this?
No, we really didn't. What he said was she didn't have any intent, but intent isn't part of the law. But am I suggesting that I would like to see her incarcerated? Absolutely not. I don't think anything would be served. But I do
Don't you think that would blow a little of the goodwill?
law,
that would blow some of the goodwill that Trump goes into office with? I mean, he's trying to pull more people into the tent. I mean, the Republicans might love it, but those independents and Democrats wouldn't.
This isn't a political witch hunt, Megyn. Either there's a rule of law or not. And if Hillary Clinton doesn't have to play by the rules that the rest of us have to play by, that General Cartwright played and that 20-year-old kid who took an iPhone photo of a sub, if those people are going to prison, then we've got an issue. That's what we've got to find out.
Great to see you, Gov.
Good to see you.
Joining us now with more, Democratic strategist and Clinton confidant Richard Socarides. He was also a senior White House advisor under President Bill Clinton. Richard, you see his point.
Megyn, I want to say first, congratulations on the book. I'm excited to read it.
Thank you very much. Settle for more.
Settle for more. I want to settle for more. I want to be on the show more.
There's the attitude. That's what I'm talking about. Be better. Do better.
Excellent.
Settle for more.
I'm trying. I'm going to try.
All right, let's see what
in
you
this
got.
interview.
Should she be prosecuted? What political capital must the Republicans expend if they choose to go that way?
Well, listen, I think the most important point here is that she's been cleared not once but twice by the FBI director, a Republican FBI director. So if you want to, if people want to prosecute her, I don't know what they want to prosecute her for. But I think that any attempt to continue this, to continue any kind of investigation is really an overreach and would backfire against the Republicans.
You know, the conventional wisdom is that if it hadn't been Loretta Lynch, but it had been a Republican attorney general, that there may have been a different result, even under Jim Comey, who's supposed to be independent. Do you think the Republicans might take the chance and find out whether that's true?
Well, I don't think so, because I think that the way this works is that the FBI director, the FBI investigates and the FBI director makes a recommendation to the Attorney General.
But it's up to the AG. And if the AG is Ted Cruz, I bet you he might see it differently.
Yeah, but the AG, no matter who the AG is never really in a position to overrule the FBI director. Now, if the FBI director came into the AG and said, well, on the one hand, on the other hand, maybe that would be a different thing. But Mr. Comey, a Republican who was certainly no fan of Hillary Clinton's, said that there's no set of circumstances under which a reasonable prosecutor would prosecute this. So I think we have to take him at his word.
But the prosecutor is the AG, not the FBI director. And so you never know if Ted Cruz gets in there and says, I think it looks like a pretty good case. Things could get interesting, although we're ahead of our skis on Ted Cruz. This is just one report, unconfirmed.
Yeah,
great to see you, Richard. So
so
far, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling like it was more. It was excellent. Great to see you tonight. So Entertainment Weekly today put out a great review, writing the story of Kelly's years as an attorney and her subsequent rise in TV journalism is surprisingly moving, transforming Settle for More into a primer about the importance of hard work, self-esteem, and most of all, perseverance. And that is exactly why I wrote this book, to show people of all ages that hard work and grit can get you where you need to go. There is also a chapter on sexual harassment and a difficult time that was much publicized over the summer here at Fox News. I thought it was an important story to include, and I'm proud to say that our bosses here at Fox, Rupert and Lachlan Murdoch, felt the same. Like me, they believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant. I'm grateful to them and to you for buying this empowering book. And if you'd like to meet me and talk about it in person, I will be at the Barnes & Noble in New York's Union Square tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Then I'm going to run over here to the Kelly Pile. And then after the Thanksgiving holiday, we are taking the tour. We're taking the show on the road, coming to see you. We're going all over the country. I'll announce the full schedule tomorrow night, but I can't wait to see you. Thanks for watching.